And nothing symbolized that panic more than the controversy over their hair.
Oh, the hair panic.
Yes, the syndicated columnist Paul Jones grumbled that they looked like Moe of the Three Stooges.
He even suggested CBS should fire Ed Sullivan for promoting such degeneracy.
It sounds totally absurd to us today, but you have to understand why the hair was so terrifying in 1964.
Right. Because ever since World War II, the close-cropped crew cut wasn't just a hairstyle.
It was a uniform.
Exactly. It was the visual shorthand for military discipline, patriotism, and conformity to the system.
Schools instituted strict grooming rules, basically equating a sloppy head with a sloppy mind.
So the Beatles' longer hair was a visual opt-out from that entire post-war social contract.
It was a rejection of the military-industrial complex right on top of their heads, and this pushback was global.
Yeah, Israel actually refused them entry, citing fears of mass hysteria and moral decay.
Indonesia burned their records in the streets to preserve national identity.
East Germany formally blamed them for causing a cultural crisis.
What all these critics and politicians failed to understand was that they were just playing their part in a historical cycle.
The source text calls it the spin cycle of cultural resistance.
Right. It's like an immune system response. Whenever a genuinely new piece of culture enters the bloodstream, the older generation's establishment acts like white blood cells,
Swarming and attacking the new culture as a virus to protect the host body.
That is exactly how it functions. When something new arrives, the establishment responds with derision and panic.
We saw it with Frank Sinatra in the 1940s, causing riots.
We saw it with Elvis in 1956 and the absolute moral panic over his hips.
The Rolling Stones were turned away from respectable hotels.
Bob Dylan was literally called Judas by his own fans for plugging in an electric guitar.
And it just keeps happening. Punk rock in the 70s, hip-hop in the 80s and 90s.
The people most invested in the existing hierarchy of taste always make the loudest noise right before that hierarchy is permanently dismantled.
Ringo Starr perfectly summarized this generational cycle. He later said, "Every generation finds its own music." Well, he said it's the one thing that belongs to them and not their parents.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if it's the Beatles or whatever comes next, it's their own discovery.
But the joke was ultimately on those critics eating their breakfast in 1964. Because by 1967, the exact same cultural establishment that called them a passing, talentless fad.
They were scrambling over themselves to explain how the album Pepper was a work of absolute, unprecedented genius.